Why you lose motivation after starting. Starting often feels easier than continuing. At the beginning, there's clarity, a sense of intention, a feeling that something has shifted. You finally begin, and for a short time, momentum appears. But then something changes. Motivation fades, energy drops. The task starts to feel heavier, and that creates confusion, because you didn't stop caring. You didn't suddenly decide it wasn't important, yet continuing feels harder than starting ever did. This happens because motivation is situational. At the start, motivation is supported by novelty. New beginnings carry hope, possibility, a temporary emotional lift, but novelty fades quickly. Once the task becomes familiar, the emotional boost disappears, and what's left is the real cost of effort. The mind stops running on excitement and starts calculating sustainability. If the ongoing cost feels too high, motivation drops, not as punishment, but as protection. There's also a psychological shift after starting. Before you begin, the task exists in imagination. After you start, it becomes real effort, real limitations, real feedback. Reality removes idealism. And idealism is what often fuels early motivation. When that illusion fades, the system reassesses. Can I keep doing this? Is this worth the cost? Do I have enough capacity? If the answer feels uncertain, the system pulls back. This is why motivation rarely sustains behavior. Motivation helps you start. Structure helps you continue. Without structure, motivation burns out, not because you're weak, but because motivation was never designed to carry long-term effort. It's a spark, not a fuel source. Losing motivation after starting isn't a personal failure. It's a signal. It tells you the system needs support, not pressure. Sustainable progress begins when action no longer depends on feeling ready, when movement becomes ordinary, unremarkable, low cost. That's when continuation stops requiring motivation and progress quietly stabilizes. Motivation fades because it was never meant to last. It exists to initiate movement, not to sustain it. Once action becomes familiar, the system stops providing emotional fuel. That doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the task has entered a different phase, a phase where excitement is replaced by repetition, and repetition feels heavier when expectations are too high. This is where many people misinterpret the signal. They assume motivation must return before they continue, so they wait. But waiting only increases friction. The longer movement pauses, the more effort restarting requires. Sustainable progress begins when continuation becomes smaller than stopping, when the cost of doing a little is lower than the cost of doing nothing. That's when action stabilizes, not through motivation, but through reduced resistance. And once resistance drops, progress no longer depends on how you feel. It depends on what feels manageable.